ESO Personalised, proud sponsor of the Impacted podcast. Why not visit their website on www.esopersonalised.co.uk. Your brand is our business.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Impacted, and I am your host, the Bison, and I'm joined today from the void.
It's the Joker. The empty space is completely gone today, so I'm just coming up from the void.
Fair enough, my man. Fair enough. So today's episode 14, and we are talking about the legendary, the incredible
Fallah Bahh.
Fallah Bahh. Bah.
Bah.
Bah. Bah. Bah. Okay, so what an incredible talent Fallah is, that's for sure. I think that this is actually someone I've been wanting to do for a little while, actually, because he's been on the roster now since 2017, and I think we've seen some incredible matches from Fallah over the last 3 years, and some really cool backstage stuff as well. So I think he's going to be quite fun to talk about. So give me some initial thoughts on Fallah today, and initial thoughts from yourself.
For me, after he'd finished his tag team run with Mario Baccarat, he seemed to. Everyone seemed to put him in the same slot as like Grado. He became more of a comedy themed wrestler, and it did discredit him. Not necessarily as bad as most comedy wrestlers, but you look at the matches he's had, especially around EC3 and Matt Sydal and the heavyweight title match against Austin Aries. You really got to see that Fallah Bahh isn't just some joke. And he's been the last 2 years, especially. He's just when he's lost all the weight. He's improved his in-ring ability, and Don Carlos and Josh Matthews have done a great job in pointing at just how much he's improved. And I see a title on him soon. Definitely.
I mean, I totally agree with that. I think like you say, when he first came in, he was carrying those few extra pounds, and I think that that he. Like you said, he was seen as a little bit more of a sort of comedy act, but he has shown that he can combine comedy with badassness, and I really like that. That is a kind of a trait, and comedy is very well. I think there's a definitive place for comedic acts within, or at least comedy within wrestling. It's an important part. You need that light relief. You can't always have people being all lovely and nice, and then other people just like being complete assholes. You have to have that kind of you have to have that sort of kind of light relief. And I think and one thing Impact does really, really well is I think that they create that through lots of different characters. You'll see sort of kind of comedic stuff come in from the most unlikely places at times. All the rosters seem to be able to sort of lay their hand on a little bit of comedy, don't they?
Oh yeah, Taya Valkyrie, Sami Callihan, for example, Moose, even Michael Elgin. Sometimes he'll put others down, but it's just done so comically in a very, very serious fashion. But one of the best examples is Johnny Swinger. Every time you see him, you just piss yourself laughing.
He's funny. He's definitely funny. Okay, so just a quick brief rundown. Impacted is a character-driven show. We basically talk about Impact, the Impact roster. We different individuals every single week. Sometimes it might be a tag team, like it was a couple of weeks ago with the North, but most of the time we try and sort of kind of stick to an individual. We talk about their past, present, and we try and predict their future, where we see them going. But generally, we just have a little bit of fun talking about what these guys have been up to whilst they've been on Impact. We do look at some of their stuff prior Impact, but we try and keep that brief because at the end of the day, some of these guys have done so much on the Impact programming that we'd be here for hours trying to cover some of their other stuff. So we try very hard just to stick to the Impact products. So we're not you know, we acknowledge that they do stuff outside of Impact. We acknowledge that they've done stuff before Impact, which is what we're going to talk about first. So, okay. So Fallah Bahh, episode 14, Fallah Bahh. Let's see what we've got going on. This young athlete. So facts and stats. Here we go. Now, sometimes I'm going to put a disclaimer in this because I do my research online, because I'm not going to know everything about every single wrestler. So I do a little bit of research online, and I know that a couple of weeks ago with the North, Ethan mentioned that he trained himself. Now, you know, I think he must have got a little bit of training from somewhere. But yes, I get the idea that, you know, a lot of you guys do work really hard training yourself, but you have to start off somewhere. And I'm not sure whether the information I give is always right. I like to think that, you know, I've done enough research, and, you know, I check all these different websites and everything else, and I try and take things that are the same. If you've got 3 or 4 sites telling me the same thing, I sort of generally tend to go with that one rather than the one which, you know, the 2 or 3 sites that might have something completely different. So yeah, that's the only way I could do it without actually talking to the talent themselves. So facts and stats. Here we go. Fallah Bahh, his age 35. His height is 5'11", so he's exactly the same height as me. Fair enough. His weight at the time, I'm not sure whether this is true, but I think probably when he first joined Impact, he was 425 pounds. We all know, as we discussed just now, that he has lost. Apparently, he's lost 100 pounds. Now, I don't know how true that is, but apparently he's lost 100 pounds. So he may well be 325 pounds now. But as the most, everything that I found online was 425 pounds. He is billed to be from the Philippines. However, I believe he was born in New Jersey, but he is obviously Philippine origins. He was trained apparently by a guy called Kevin Knight. Now, I couldn't find any information on Kevin, so yeah, we'll leave that one out there. I think he was trained by Kevin Knight. His debut was in 2003, and his finisher is the Manila Sunset, which, of course, is a corner-seated senton. So, yeah, so some interesting stuff there, isn't there?
This is amazing stuff. No, but you carry on. Mine's gone a bit, so you carry on.
Your mind gone, buddy. Your mind gone blank.
Yeah,
it's fair enough. Now, he's also worked. He's obviously been in the business for sort of, you know, 16, 17 years. Wow. You know, that's what, you know. I mean, this is the thing. A lot of people don't realise how long some of the guys on the Impact roster have actually been pro wrestlers. A lot of them started very, very young. You know, I mean, Fallah was obviously in his, you know, was probably 18, 19, I guess, when he made his debut. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. 35 years now. And he's starting to come into his own. I think, you know, between the ages of sort of kind of your late 20s into your late 30s, that sort of 10-year period is normally when you're at your peak. So I think, you know, we're well and truly into Fallah's peak time as a professional wrestler. And he is proving to be an incredible talent, both inside and outside the ring. Now, one of the interesting things is that some of his former promotions was IWF, MFPW, plus several, you know, lots and lots of other indie promotions, GTS, CW, etc. I know that he's made a few appearances on AAW also. So, you know, he's been around the indie circuit for 15 years. He's competed all over the place. He's won plenty of titles, including heavyweight titles, singles titles. He's also obviously won a couple of tag titles as well. One of them with his one of them was the MFPW tag title with his tag partner Mario Baccara, who we all know, you know, came to Impact around, well, when Fallah turned up, Mario was with him. So yeah, I think that the initial intention when Fallah came in was that him and Fallah would be a tag team. I think obviously, you know, they decided that they wanted to sign Fallah, but they didn't sign Mario. Or he was certainly around for a little while, but I think they split them up quite early, didn't they?
Yeah, I think he injured his knee, or I think they got split up due to because Mario injured himself. I'm not 100% sure, Miss. So I'm just going off what I think I can remember. So don't take my word as fact, guys. But they came up from the Crash promotion. Going, Jeff Jarrett was bringing all these teams together from different promotions, and they had about a good 2 or 3 months together, fighting it out to get the GFW tag title or the Impact World Tag title, whichever one that was free. They both impressed me, and it was a shame to see Mario Blackroff go, because I was looking forward to seeing what him and Fallah Bahh could do, because it was like an international tag team, and you didn't get much at them. You got the 2 guys from France that Al Snow had brought in, and that was really it. And I was looking forward to seeing that change in attitude in wrestling.
I wasn't overly impressed with the French guys, were you?
I enjoyed it, and there was a lot of potential there. And Al Snow was a good guy to have behind them, but they could have done a bit more if they were given the chance. I think, they weren't going to be let with WWE book them.
No, I thought that they were just, I don't know, I thought they were a bit boring, but I think they didn't have a lot of, I didn't feel that they had a lot of charisma.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So kind of they needed Al, but I don't know, like without him, it was kind of like they're a bit bland, they're a bit boring, and it didn't work for me personally. I mean, and obviously it didn't work for Impact because they let them go. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. At that time, there was quite a lot of different tag teams coming in and doing their thing, wasn't there?
Yeah. Taiji Ishimori had come in as well.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. There was a lot going on at that time. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of different guys turning up, and they were there for a little while and then disappearing for a bit, wasn't there?
Yeah. I flipped the chaotic running schedule of Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, chaotic booking from Jeff. But I don't know what was going on there. He must have been pissed at the time. I don't know. But so bottom line is, Fallah made his debut in 2017. I think he made an instant impact on his debut. There was a lot of people that were very impressed with him. It was a 6-man tag match where he teamed with his longtime partner Mario, and also Idris Abraham. Do you remember him with the big hair?
Yes, he's the Egyptian guy. I enjoyed him.
I thought he was good, and I was surprised he didn't stay. But that match was against Laredo Kid, Garza Jr., and Mahabali Shera. Unfortunately, Bahh was on the losing side in that. I mean, obviously, at that time, they were trying to push Garza Jr., I think, and Laredo Kid. I think they were trying to push them more at that moment. But, it was a good match, wasn't it?
Oh, Garza Jr. and Laredo Kid were my favourite tag team out of all the new ones to come in. And I wish Garza Jr. and Laredo Kid got pushed a bit more, but they had plans elsewhere. So hats off to them for what they're doing now. Yeah,
it was a shame because Garza Jr., I think, he could have done really, really well. He could have done really, really well on Impact. I think, especially Garza. I mean, Laredo Kid is pretty good. They brought him in a few times over the years. I don't know whether there was time when they actually offered him a contract and he just didn't take it. I mean, you never know, do you? I mean, that's the thing. We can turn around and say, well, what a shame they didn't keep him, but maybe it was that he didn't want to stay, so we don't know, do we? That's the trouble. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
No, you don't.
But I think with regards to Garza Jr. especially, they really should have kept him. He was incredible. I mean, as time went on, do you remember there was a couple of matches with Garza Jr. where he sort of kind of wrestled with his arm in a sling? Do you remember that?
Yeah, and he pushed himself into the world title picture as well. So he really was ready to go anywhere.
It was incredible. And even the fact that he was wrestling with like one arm in a sling, just to prove how amazing he is. And you know, it's a bit like the whole, was it Orange Cassidy or whatever his name is, the dude that gets his hands up.
Orange Cassidy.
It is him, isn't it? Yeah. So I quite like that gimmick, actually. I do. I must admit, freshly squeezed. But anyway, moving on. We're not here to talk about AEW, are we, boy? No, it's all about Impact. So obviously that was a losing match, you know. But what we saw in that match was some incredible talent. I think everybody got some great offense in, and showed off what they had. It was a match, I think, which was set to kind of show people off a little bit. Do you think?
Yes, it was definitely to say this is the new wave of superstars we got coming in now. It was a good exhibition match for everyone. Yeah,
it was really good. I think it was really good. I think then later, I think it wasn't until April that we then found out that Fallah had actually been signed to a long-term Impact contract. I was thinking he's been there for 3 years. In that 3 years, I've not heard that his contract's been renewed. So I'm assuming that maybe he had a 3-year contract or he had a 2-year contract. It's just been behind the scenes extended or whatever. I don't know. But I mean, he's been there as a contracted talent now for 3 years. So let's hope he doesn't move on.
Yeah,
at some point, you know, because I think, you know, it would be a real big loss to Impact if Fallah, you know, ended up going off elsewhere. Although I think he loves it now, I think he'll stay, so we don't have a problem with that. He then went on to compete. Now, this is interesting because I think once they signed him, I think they were obviously very impressed with him in a lot of the stuff that he was doing. And at this time, he was also obviously he was big. He was kind of like Yokozuna sort of size-ish. And I think, but he could still move really, really well. And I think they felt they wanted to give him a little bit of a push, really give him a push, see what he could do. So they threw him into a grand championship match with EC3, if you remember. And interestingly, he won the first round, but obviously ended up eventually losing to EC3 to a pinfall in the third. But the way that they booked this match was very much like EC3 was very surprised to find that this dude could actually, you know, give him a run. Do you remember?
Yeah, this is where Fallah Bahh really started to come into his own, I think, where you had Matt Sydal and EC3 trying to break him down, and he just wouldn't stay down, and you really got to see.
That was a later match.
Yeah, he can do more than be a punching bag, you know, and he was just fantastic.
Yeah, that was incredible. So he also competed later on that year in the Eli Drake annual Turkey Trot. This was I remember this for me was one of the funniest things. I loved it.
Oh, gobble, gobble, gobble.
I'm not actually a massive fan of the whole Turkey Trot, the turkey suit thing, but I thought that this was a real cool twist. I thought it was really good, and I think a lot of people, they have a lot of fun when they film these type of episodes. So basically, in the Turkey Trot, we had Fallah competing alongside Ali, Garza Jr., Richard Justice. Do you remember him? Dick Justice? Do you remember him?
Dick Justice.
And of course, Eddie Edwards. They were taking on at that time KM, Laurel Van Ness, Phantasma, another incredible talent, Chris Adonis, and Caleb Conley, who I also like. Now, you know, Fallah's team won. So that was interesting to see, wasn't it? Because if I remember rightly, it was Chris Adonis that ended up donning the turkey suit. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And then that was like, there was a thing where they were sort of like kind of because Chris, I think at that time, and Eli had some sort of partnership thing going on, didn't they? And it was like, you can't believe you. Yeah, there was a big old thing.
It's what ruined Eli Drake for me, to be honest, having Chris Adonis on the roster. He didn't need him.
I mean, Chris Adonis for me is probably one of the worst wrestlers to ever compete in the WWE.
Yeah.
And so when he turned up on Impact, I was like, oh, for God's sake, really? You know, you're booking this guy just because he's been on WWE, not because he's a talented wrestler, because he bloody well isn't. And he's incredibly boring on the mic, incredibly boring in the ring, and just was, well, just not a good signing at all. And putting him with Eli Drake just was ridiculous. Like, I don't know why that ever happened, but it did happen. And yeah, so that's what basically happened at that moment. But that was good. I mean, that was a good win for Fallah's team at that point. I was really worried because I actually thought at that time would have been someone like Fallah or Richard Justice. Not so bothered about Dick Justice, but if it was someone like Fallah that ended up wearing the turkey suit, I would have been a bit pissed at that, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't want that to happen for him at that time. You know, he just come in. He was starting to put on some good matches. But then after that, interestingly, I haven't mentioned this, but obviously during all this time, he was still doing backstage promos and stuff. We didn't really get much from him. There was lots of sort of ones of him munching down on food. There was lots of eating, and lots of, and of course, he doesn't say anything other than bah. So we didn't get really any sort of kind of like meaningful worded promos. We just got bah. Bah?
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 And
we just
everyone had to play off of that, and it was so great. Everyone had to play off of that, and it's just so cleverly put together. It's so simple and so funny.
Yeah, I think it was really good. It was really good. So then, like I say, we saw him then being sort of kind of like thrusted into a 3-way Grand Championship match with EC3 and Matt Sydal at that time. Now, you know, previously we saw him against EC3 in a Grand Championship match, which was it was a good match, and we started to see that actually Fallah is a serious competitor. He gave EC3 a good run. We then get to this match, which is like a 3-way, which is kind of weird, really, for the Grand Championship, because I don't know. That to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, you have these rules set in place for this specific title, and then you sort of kind of change them. So anyway, but they decided to do a 3-way in this match. What did you think of it?
I love the match. I love this match. As I mentioned earlier, EC3 and Matt Sydal beat the crap out of him, and he just wouldn't stay down for. It was just a classic, even if the people weren't a fan of the Grand Championship setup. I enjoyed it, but it was a match that Fallah Bahh needed, and it was a match that EC3 needed as well, because he was losing a lot of momentum, even though he was champion. Yeah. And the way Fallah Bahh inserted himself from being a judge to get put into the match, well, it was just a great way to turn another comedy spot into a serious match for Fallah Bahh, and it paid off.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that the again, it was one of those matches where it really highlighted how good Fallah actually was, and the fact that even though he is a big guy, and at that time he's certainly much bigger than he is now, or carrying a lot more weight, he could still move, and he still had cardiovascular ability, didn't he?
Yeah. You know, he was still flying across the ring. It was just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, at that time, he's a 400-pound guy, and he's flying around the ring. He's throwing his body, you know, in all over the place. He's doing, you know, he's throwing, he's going through the ropes, and you know, he's doing all sorts of stuff that you just would not expect to see from a guy carrying that amount of weight. You know, it just, and of course, you know, the fact is, that was it 3-minute rounds, wasn't it? Was it 3 minutes?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
So you've got a guaranteed 12-minute match You know, I mean, try and run on a treadmill for 12 minutes. You know, don't get me wrong. You know, I mean, I train. Oh, not at the moment, actually, unfortunately, because we're obviously on lockdown. But you know, normally I train my CV for a good 45, 50 minutes 3 times a week. You know, when I go on the treadmill and I run, you know, 10 minutes, I'm starting to definitely, you know, huff and puff. So, you know, the fact is, at the end of the day, he's carrying all that weight, yet he can still, and that's just running. I'm not using any other, you know, you know, he's jumping through ropes, he's banging on the, you know, he's getting chucked around, he's, you know, he's running around a ring, he's picking people up, you know, and he's doing all of this over sort of kind of that is a guaranteed 12 minutes, isn't it? Roughly, basically, it's a guaranteed 12 minutes. You know, and that's a long time. That is a long time to be in there wrestling like that, especially when you're carrying the amount of weight he's carrying at that time. So I take my hat off to him. I think his CV at that time was really good. And it proved that, you know, he can go the distance with anybody. You know, you can get in there, he can go the distance, he can take a punch, you know, he could take the hits coming at him. You know, I think that proved that what serious competitor he was in that match. And I loved it. You know, for all of the Grand Championship matches, I'm not a fan of the Grand Championship thing. I don't think the whole round system, judges and all that kind of stuff really works in wrestling. Doesn't make any sense to me. But, you know, at that time, I think that particular match for me, for Fallah, was a really good match. And obviously you agree as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, from that showing, we then get some interest from Austin Aries. So, you know, Austin Aries then offers Fallah a world title match, which turned out to be one hell of a match. And in fact, for me, I think we discussed this prior to coming on, prior to recording today, for me, is still his best match in Impact Wrestling for me. It was a main event on an Impact show against the world champion. It was about, I think it was about 20 minutes, if I'm right in thinking. It was quite long.
It was a very long match.
Yeah, but it was a hell of a match, wasn't it? My God.
Yeah.
I think even Austin Aries was probably surprised at how, the type of match that he got from Fallah that night.
Yeah, he called anybody out, and as soon as Fallah Bahh come down to the ring, he was there laughing at him, joking at him, laughing at his losing streak and everything like that. And it was another great way to showcase just that Fallah Bahh, he might be a joke wrestler, but you piss him off, and he'll go the distance, win or lose. His match against Austin Aries, again, it was another stamp on the floor that this guy can go. You need to really start doing something else with him. Yeah. And again, his technical ability is often overlooked.
I think the impressive thing about Fallah is he's very good. I mean, we've talked about this with other wrestlers. Like last week, we talked quite a lot about being able to tell a story in the ring with Michael Elgin.
Yeah.
You know, Eddie Edwards, another one, who's very good at telling that story in the ring. Sami Callihan, obviously, is incredible at doing that. And I think that Fallah is also one of those guys that is able to tell his story in a ring. You know, you know, I mean, you know, we'll get some incredible offense. We get the whole no going on, and you know, you get that pretty much every single match. We get the bah, you know, the buying up thing.
He's hulking himself up.
He's hulking himself up. He's buying himself up. So we get all of that going on as well. But just his way of sort of like, you know, kind of telling that story when he's in there with another wrestler who's equally as good as doing that as Austin Aries. You know, as much of I don't know. Well, rumors are he's a bit of a knob jockey. I mean, I don't know, but outside of the ring, you know, sometimes in the backstage he's a bit hard to deal with. But, you know, at the end of the day, the guy he's obviously, you know, confident in his abilities and expects certain things to happen, you know, with him, you know, and I sort of kind of get that to a degree. So, you know, but when it comes to in-ring work, and even his promo work is great too, but his in-ring work is amazing, Austin Aries. And I'm actually a big fan of his in-ring work. And I love it when Austin Aries comes to Impact, because I think he's an incredible talent and a big asset to the product when he's there. It's such a shame that we probably are never going to see him again because of the way he sort of kind of acted, obviously, at Bound for Glory. Even though I'm still not convinced that wasn't actually a work at the time, and there was obviously a story that was planned to follow that. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure whether that was sort of kind of like real, or whether that was something that was planned and he just ended up not actually signing his extension. So that was it. That was the way it ended. Yeah. But I don't know. But incredible match, and I think. The main thing is it showcased exactly how good and how well Fallah can perform with top talent. You know, he can perform at a top level with the top guys.
Definitely. We got Moose is another example.
No, without doubt, Moose is another example of that too. Now. After that, obviously, he obviously lost the match to Austin Aries. But after that, we saw some interesting fat shaming angle going on, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that involved KM, didn't it?
Yes.
Where we started to see this sort of kind of strange relationship with KM. So we started seeing this fat shaming thing going on. Being a fat guy myself, not necessarily okay with it, with seeing something like that going on. You know, especially with someone like Fallah, who's actually he comes across as genuinely a really nice bloke. So, you know, why would you be calling him a disgusting blob? And God knows what else that was going on in that moment in time. It was coming out of KM's mouth. I think that, which anyway, eventually led to quite a backlash, didn't it? There was quite a backlash going on. The stuff going on online, social media was like, what the hell are you doing? Stop being so disgusting to him. And then we ended up with KM actually apologising to Fallah, and they ended up becoming a tag team. Well, we never saw that coming, did we?
No, we didn't. It was one of these storylines that brings up like current issues in society. That's how I saw it, and I thought it was played out really well. I wasn't blown away by the matches they had, to be honest, but the whole way it progressed, and then to have KM and Fallah Bahh team up together, there was a lot of potential there as well. So I was glad it went somewhere rather than become a one-off rivalry and then just end and go nowhere else.
Yeah, no, it was interesting how it all panned out, wasn't it? Because in the end, it was supposed to be that KM sort of realised what a dick he was being. And, you know, he apologised and they ended up becoming a tag team. And I think, you know, and actually we saw some incredible comedy stuff then coming involving KM and Bahh during this time, didn't we?
Yeah. They gelled together a lot better than everyone expected.
Yeah. And again, we still had nothing vocally from Fallah other than Bahh. Bahh? Bahh?
Yeah.
Anyway, we had nothing other than that stuff going on. So, again, that's a testament to actually how good KM was at giving a promo, because at the end of the day, he's, you know, other than the word Bahh, he's getting pretty much nothing to go on from his partner. So he's sort of kind of like having to react to the way that the Bahh was being spoken. And interestingly enough, he sort of kind of got to a point where KM, it's a bit like R2D2, isn't it? Right? Like some people see, like, you know, the only person that can seem to understand R2 is C3PO, right? So it's kind of like, like the only one that could seem to understand Fallah at that time was KM, and would sort of like kind of like say what he was trying to say to people, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, it was a great way to put Fallah Bahh over, and it was a light-hearted comedy as well. It was just keeping in tune with what they were trying to do with Fallah Bahh and with KM at the time, to brighten the mood a bit more.
Yeah. Now, we then went on to see some really great matches. If I remember rightly, there was some stuff with Killer Cross. We had Moose. Obviously, Aries was involved in there. We saw a match with Reno Scum, which they won. You remember that one? At that time, that was when Reno Scum was sort of kind of like coming in. They were sort of kind of getting an opportunity. They tended to lose, and then they would go again. I think it sort of kind of happened a couple of times till eventually they had their third chance and got signed, if you remember. Interestingly, they sort of kind of, in the storytelling of that, they actually made they actually turned that into a story, didn't they? You know, third time's a charm and all that. This is their third and final chance to impress, that kind of thing. And obviously it went well because they got signed. So now, and the other thing as well, during this time, he was also picked to represent Impact in an Impact versus AAA match. Now, and I think this shows how much how much Fallah was actually rated by the Impact management. That they wanted to include him in this sort of kind of like Team Impact team. I mean, even though eventually the team actually lost, which I don't think matters. The fact is that they picked him to go in there as Team Impact, and I think that was good.
Yeah, again, it was just more praise for Fallah Bahh's input over the years. He's not being shunted aside, and he's not being used as a last resort booking like we had with like when Jesse Goddard was there. They had no one else to put in the match, so they just chucked Jesse Goddard in, or they chuck Eddie Edwards in. Again, it was just something else to keep Fallah Bahh in the spotlight and keep Fallah Bahh in the company, so people just can't overlook him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And but I also think he had a really good showing in the match as well. Again, I think it was one of those matches where it was all about kind of highlighting everybody and saying, check out the talent we've got here. Check out this talent; they are incredible. And also, yeah, exactly. That's what it was about. It was just about getting out there and showing the talent off, in a different way. That's what I like about some of these kind of matches. When you put these multi-man matches together, I think that's really what it's about. It's just about putting on an incredibly entertaining match and showcasing the talents, rather than necessarily having any real meaning to it. It doesn't matter whether Team Impact win or lose, or same vice versa with AAA. I think it was set up for AAA to win, because obviously at that time, we're getting a lot of sort of kind of like, we've got a relationship going with AAA. You can't just have all of the AAA guys come in and get their asses kicked by all the Impact guys. It doesn't, that's AAA are going to be like, well, what the fuck are we getting out of this?
Yeah.
You're just saying all our guys are shit and all your guys are great. So I think that I think that's where these kind of matches work really well, because you can give a good win to AAA, and they come out of it looking really good with really great talent. But at the same time, our guys aren't really hurt because it's a multi-man thing, a multi-person thing, and they all get to show off what they can do. So I think it's a great way to do it. Great way to do it. Now, what we then saw, if I remember rightly, because I think at this time, while all this was going on, we were getting all the Scarlet Bordeaux stuff going on as well, weren't we? All the promos for the Smoke Show and all the rest of it. So I think, and then what we saw was I think we saw Fallah and KM getting a little bit infatuated by Scarlet. So we had some really cool promos, didn't we?
Yeah, again, it was building the relationship between KM and Fallah Bahh and building up the comedy act, and this is when they really started to get put over a lot more as well. Because
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot going
Scarlett
on.
Bordeaux acted as their manager, and she started to finally get them winning more matches.
Yeah.
And I wasn't overly impressed with Scarlett Bordeaux, to be honest. And at times it did get a bit irritating to see wasted potential, if I'm honest, from her. But
Yeah. I'm not.
She did a great job with KM and Fallah Bahh. So what she did on the Impact shows was good. But she wrestled matches on the One Night Only series and stuff, and she's a fantastic wrestler. You just didn't see it on the main Impact show.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why she wanted to go, because I think although she was getting quite a push in reality. I mean, she was on every week, but she wasn't really getting the chance to show what she could do in the ring, was she?
Definitely.
I think that maybe that would eventually came, but I'm just thinking that maybe she felt in time that it was sort of kind of hurting her a little bit, that she wasn't get to actually show what she could do in the ring. It was all about her body and her character. But you see, I think that sometimes you have to take that time to build. You have to build that character. You have
to look at Ali.
Exactly. I mean, Ali spent almost 12 months just being Ali before she even got in the ring, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And now she's signed to AEW. So, regardless of that, I think, the bottom line is she should have, I still think she should have had a little bit more ring time, but maybe she should have just given it a little bit longer. She should have given it a little bit longer to eventually get to the point where she was going to be in there. But hey, she decided to move on. She'll probably get released fairly soon, but we never know. But obviously with all of this going on, we had some great stuff going on with regards with Scarlett backstage. She eventually goes on to take on them in a management role. It wasn't too long after this, though, that we eventually saw that KM was released. I think he was released because he was having issues with his knees. He was definitely having a few injury issues with his knees and stuff. I think, he was coming to the end of his contract. I just think they didn't renew it. They knew that he had a few issues with his knees, and I think that they made a decision that rather than wait, sign a contract and wait for him to suddenly get real serious issue with knees, that they wouldn't re-sign him. So they didn't re-sign him at that time, which I think was actually it's a shame for KM, but I think it was a good thing for Fallah because it then meant that Fallah could start pushing his singles career again. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. KM, he didn't leave on bad terms with Impact, but later on down the line, he seemed to be a bit pissed off with them about something else. But he left on good terms, and he did suffer quite a lot of injuries elsewhere, especially with his legs, and he's had a few shoulder injuries as well. So him getting released, it didn't surprise me. I was a bit sad to see him go, if I'm honest. I wasn't a huge fan when he came in, but as he built himself up with Fallah Bahh, I was enjoying seeing them two work together. I was enjoying seeing the comedy spots that they were doing in the ring, and they like I said, they gelled well together, and that's what you want from a tag team. You want to see them work well together.
Work. There's no doubt it did work well.
And we got this. We got the steamroller. We got the people's toe from Fallah Bahh, and
the people's toe was funny.
And the Rock even endorsed that after he'd seen it as well, which was quite funny.
Yeah, no, that was cool. There was a lot. There was a lot of really positives, wasn't there? There was a lot of positives. But at the end of the day, I think that Fallah needed to break away to then continue his growth. I mean, KM. I think for me, KM and Fallah for KM was probably like the highlight of his career. You know, that was
Definitely.
probably as far as he was going to go. Whereas I think Fallah has still got, he's still got much further to travel. You know, like for instance, I wouldn't ever have seen KM as an Impact World Champion. I would never have seen KM really as an X Division champ or anything like that. I don't see a belt on him. Whereas Fallah, now that's a different story, because I do believe that the guy's definitely got gold in his future. So and as time progresses and he starts to break out more and more, I'm pretty certain that we're going to see some gold on this chap, not in the not too distant future. But we'll get onto that a little bit later. Now, obviously, we saw quite a lot of singles matches going on. I mean, Fallah, at that time, Scarlett was continuing to be Fallah's manager, wasn't she? So it just was Fallah and Scarlett at that time once KM had gone. I mean, we saw some incredible matches. I mean, we saw matches with Congo Kong. We saw Ethan Page, Dave Christ, Raj Singh, Moose, Adam Thornstowe, Cody Deaner match, Joey Ryan. That was a good match. Do you remember that one? That was a really fun match. I really like that one. Johnny Swinger. We've had a Madman Fulton match. I mean, this is the thing. This is what people don't realise. That when you start looking into this, like I say, when I was doing my research, I said to you earlier, didn't I? I cannot believe how many matches Fallah's had, like over his 3-year stint. I mean, we've had matches with Swinger, Shearer, Rohit Raju, Tommy Dreamer. We've seen him teaming obviously with KM, Scarlett, Rich Swann. He teamed with Rich Swann at some point. So, there's some incredible stuff going on. I mean, even teamed with Eddie Edwards. He's teamed with Willie Mack. Teamed with Sammy Callahan, Tommy Dreamer. The list is actually endless. I found so much stuff. And the thing is, just talking about all of that stuff, we could probably do a whole show just on that stuff, to be honest. If we went through every single one of his matches, we'd probably be here for about an hour. But yeah, some incredible stuff. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Now, and we've seen him do some amazing promos without actually saying anything too. Now, one of the promos I wanted to talk about actually before we move on to the next stint was he did a promo which was him, Eli Drake. I think this was when was this? I'm trying to think when this was. I think it was leading into maybe I keep thinking it's Rebellion or somewhere around that time. But I might be wrong. But Eli Drake is still on the roster. It wasn't. He was being pushed quite a lot at that time.
Yeah.
Oh man, Adonis had gone. I can't remember when it was, but it was a really cool promo where Eli was with Bahh, and it's very much we were talking about that whole kind of connection between KM and Fallah, whereas KM sort of kind of working off Fallah's bars in the different voice, different tones in his voice and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We got something very, very similar with Eli, and I think this was, for me, probably one of the best promos that I'd seen, where Eli was just like, he was hilarious the way he was working off. Oh, I know when it was. It was when they were getting set to team up for the Team Impact versus AAA. That's when it was. And it was like they were sort of kind of like who was going to be the leader and all that kind of stuff. Do you remember? I'm like, right.
Yeah, Eli Drake's like I'm the guy in charge, like you'd expect from a guy like him.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
He just didn't have a clue what the hell Fallah Bahh was saying the entire time. His reaction of constant confusion and anger.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant, and I think for me that was one of my funniest promos that I've seen for a long time. I thought it was really good, and he's also done promos with the Rascals in the Treehouse. There was a couple of good ones there, and you've had one more recently, haven't we? With where we had TJP, Fallah, we had the team of Triple XL. And who was the other one that was in there? I can't remember now. It wasn't Reno's. The Deaners, that's right. Again, an amazing comedy actors, those two. The Deaners are fabulous. But again, fantastic promos all the way across the board. Now, one thing I want to talk about in the last sort of 12 to 18 months is the amount of weight that Fallah's lost. I mean, it's obviously at the point now where he's sort of saying, right, if I'm going to be taken totally seriously, if I'm going to get a shot at winning a title, I guess, I've got to start looking at my health. I've got to think about the longevity of my career. How long can I wrestle the kind of way that I wrestle, at 425 pounds? And I think that, and also, by losing it's roughly £100, I believe, that he's lost. By losing that kind of weight as well, how much has it sort of kind of increased his stamina, increased his tempo in the ring, and just actually made him all round a much, much better talent to watch, hasn't it? It's actually made him much stronger in the ring.
Yeah, you see his technical abilities improve a lot more. Like the cartwheels, the rolls. He does one of the most vicious belly to belly suplexes I've seen since Kurt Angle. Impressive. He's dropping all the comedy spots now for real technical wrestling ability and grappling, and it's working out in his favor. It's really putting him over now as a potential champion, and the work he's doing with TJP especially is really, really helping him.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, as a character, he's starting now to really, really come through. Now, the interesting thing is, I want to ask you this: him speaking now, has that ruined his character, or has it improved it?
I think it's improved it, because you still get all the bars and the ahs in the ring, and like Cody Deaner or Hulk Hogan, it's now part of the character in the ring rather than shoved in your face the entire time. So it's not getting old. It's done where it's needed, and when Fallah Bahh is bowing himself up, and something really, really big is going to come, like a punch, or he's just going to go no, or he might even just get whacked in the face by somebody else because he's stalling for too long. And it's just a great spot in the match that the match is either going to come to an end at some point, or something really, really out of the blue is going to happen, and it's all working out for him.
Yeah.
It's a good change in character. It's a great way to develop his character after about just under 3 years doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interestingly enough. I mean, when TJ started to sort of kind of, bring his brother in, I guess. Yeah. And he was sort of kind of like, bringing him out, getting him to speak and all that kind of stuff. I actually thought that was, I thought it was a really cool idea. It's some people I've seen on social media and stuff, a few people complain a little bit, and I think it's ruining him and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, at the end of the day, you have to develop.
Yeah, look at Sami Callihan.
Yeah, you've got to reinvent slightly. You've got to do something to continue the growth of your character. I think if he was to continue not saying anything, it would actually be detrimental, because eventually people are going to go, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm bored of this now." It's getting boring. And I think that one of the most. So I think personally, I think it's a great thing, and I think also what it's now going to do is lead to some really cool interaction between TJP and Fallah, and also I'm hoping we'll start seeing sort of kind of promos where although we have started seeing it a little bit, but a little bit more, where we're getting kind of like interactions between Fallah, TJ, and opposition a little bit more, rather than all the speaking coming from TJ. It's all, we're going to get some interaction from Fallah as well, which then, rather than, both the teams to start working off each other. And we start to see that more, that more build. Fallah, at the end of the day, is a face character. And he's a great face character. Everybody loves him. And let's face the facts. Why wouldn't you? He's a very lovable guy. Very cuddly. He's a panda, that's for sure. And I just think that the friendship that we're now starting to see blossom with TJP is something which I think is going to grow and grow and grow. Now, one thing that worries me, because we haven't seen it announced anywhere, and I've got no idea whether TJP has actually physically been signed as an official Impact roster member. However, TJP has been heavily pushed now with Fallah, and also we've seen that he's been added officially to the roster page on the Impact website. So I'm assuming that even though it's not actually been announced, I'm assuming that TJ has actually got an official contract now, rather than per appearance. He's actually got an official contract.
I think he is on. He's on an official. I think he is on an official contract. It's just that he just doesn't want it announced. Is there
a point? I guess. I mean, he's there. You're seeing him. He's there every week.
Yeah.
It's the same with Tennille Dashwood. What I feel with Tennille, and I don't want to go too much into Tennille because I'm not much of a fan, but what I feel is that, like, when she first came in, she was doing the whole, it's great to do it because, I get to do other things. I can go wherever I want. I can compete when I want. I can do what I want, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, how is that beneficial to any promotion? Like, she didn't actually, she was just on a paper appearance contract. Now, which meant that, if they rang her up and said, can you come and do these tapings? We want you to face so and so. We want you to do this, that, and the other. Blah, blah, blah. She said no. Well, that's it, isn't it? So what's the point in pushing a talent like that? You know what I mean? Like, there's no point in giving them anything meaningful, because at the end of the day, they could just turn around and say, "Oh, I can't be asked to do the next set of tapings," and then that whole thing is screwed, isn't it? So it's like, so I think I got a funny feeling that she now must be signed to a contract, because they've started to push her again. Every week she's getting something. They're actually pushing her every week. She's now had a match with Taya Valkyrie. She gets a little win under her belt. So there's obviously something going on there, and they're going to start pushing her. So possibly she's now signed as well. I don't know. But what I know, that when TJ initially came in, he was very similar. He was going to come in. He was going to do a few appearances. He was allowed him to do other things. Blah blah blah. I'm hoping now that he's actually signed a proper official contract, so that they can now push him properly, and that's when we're going to see this real good build now between the team of Fallah and TJP.
After that match he had with Daga, I think that was when TJP was officially signed. And it's just they've just kept it under wraps rather than blast it out there. I think the way you saw him go against Daga, and you're not going to put on a match like that if you're just going to be there part time. And no disrespect to TJP or Daga, because those two are absolutely amazing, but you wouldn't expect them to go like that if it was just going to be a one-off or a one-off appearance.
No, I agree totally. So that said, we've now got this build-up. We've got this TJP. We've got Fallah Bahh, and what we've got here. Sorry, excuse me. Little frog in the throat there. So what we've got now is we've got this kind of like best friend thing going on, haven't we?
Yeah. Got the
So-
Panda Brothers.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Now, what I was going to say to you was, at the moment, they're just billed as basically Fallah Bahh TJP or TJP and Fallah Bahh, however you want to look at it. They've now got their own. They've actually got their own Titantron thing now. I don't know if you noticed that, where
I have.
you know, they've got their own thing together now, which is really cool. However, do you think that they should come up with some kind of official tag name rather than just TJP and Fallah Bahh?
To me personally, it doesn't discredit them either way. I think once they start to build a bit more momentum, then TJP is probably going to say to Fallah Bahh, look, we're going to go up against the North, so let's give ourselves a brand or something like that. Is going to come around the corner soon. What they're going to call themselves, I'm not entirely sure.
What's interesting?
They've got to really think carefully about it and not make it too cheesy or too predictable.
But what I think is interesting is they have started to brand themselves as a tag team, haven't they? Because they're now wearing similar ring attire, etc. Which I must admit, I thought that was a really funny promo when TJP was trying to coax him out with the new ring gear.
Yeah, that was good.
That promo was brilliant. That was brilliant. And that made me laugh a lot. And you know, I just think that now they're starting to brand them. They've got the ring gear, you know, the yellow and all that. I don't know. I just think it would be cool if there was some sort of kind of, you know, I mean, I came up with something. I don't know whether it was that great, but I thought maybe like the Philippine connection, because they're trying to make something of the fact that they're obviously both from the Philippines. You know, if they actually end up winning the title, they would be the first Philippine team to ever win a World Tag Title. I don't know. You know, should there be something in there with related to where they're from? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, if it happens, then I'm not going to be complaining. I think it'd be good to promote that these guys are technically foreign talent, or they've got foreign heritage. So it's not all about the American wrestlers. It's not all about the Canadian wrestlers. It's about inclusion of everyone else, like we did with LAX, Santana and Ortiz especially, and Hernandez and Homicide.
I don't know. Do you remember the tag team of British Invasion?
No, I don't. I that was a bit before my time, and so was Homicide and Hernandez. But I know they've been tag team champions, and obviously Homicide coming with Conan and Santana and Ortiz as well.
Yeah, I think the one thing that makes a tag title a world title is, like you say, is when you get international teams winning the titles. It sort of kind of gives it that kind of. It does give it that edge of being a truly international title, doesn't it? A true world title. And you know, again, you know, that's something for another discussion with regards to recent PWI posts. But anyway, not recognising the Impact World Title as a world title. But there you go.
PWI.
Yeah, fuck them. Anyway, so anyone actually fucking read that shit? No, do they? Fuck. Anyway. So I think that any, you know, regardless of anything else, I don't know. I just think that we need something, even if it's more of a nickname, rather than necessarily an official, you know, because you get that quite a lot, don't we? You know, at the end of the day, you know,
definitely,
you know, Chris Benoit was a rabid Wolverine. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Like you know, people, you know, like you know, if you want to talk about different being Bobby Roode off the chain, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like you know, human suplex machine for Kurt Angle. You know, all that kind of stuff. You know, is there something that we could come up with that, even if we don't actually officially call the team, you know, this name, but something which sort of kind of like almost like a nickname for the team, You know, keep it as TJP, Fallah Bahh, but they've sort of kind of got, when they're a tag team, they've got a nickname of, you know, this, you know, like you say, like you were saying earlier, like sort of like, you know, Panda this or whatever it was. I can't remember what you said now. What was the one you said?
Panda Power.
Yeah, Panda Power, or, you know, I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but, you know, sort of kind of, you know, just something in there which sort of kind of relates to them as a tag team. And I think that would just sort of kind of gel the whole thing together and make it feel a little bit more legitimate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if they can string together a couple of double team finishing moves and give them a signature name as well, that would be a start. And then think about the tag team name later on. Yeah,
possibly. Yeah, definitely. Now they've already had a world title shot, haven't they, against the North? Now, I mean, unfortunately, obviously they lost. However, you know, big fan of the North also. So you know, I'd quite happily seen either of those guys win. But I think that was an incredible match. I mean, they showed what an incredible tag team they are, didn't they?
Definitely. And Josh Alexander and Ethan Page are no nonsense, fantastic all around wrestlers. And I was really, really impressed with how TJP managed to match up to both of them, because he was the smallest guy in the ring. And and Fallah Bahh was literally running across the ring, making all the saves and everything. You wouldn't have expected that from someone as big as him, even though you'd see him run around the ring. He'd taken a massive beating in the match, and you think he'd be too tired to make the save now. But he was still throwing himself out of nowhere and breaking all the pins up and everything. So
yeah, no, it was one hell of a match.
Yeah, their teamwork is definitely improving, and the North have really helped us put that over a bit more.
Oh, without doubt, yeah. I think it's helped bolster that, and I think, you know, as time goes on, I think, you know, if we're looking to the future now, I think we could safely say that this tag team of TJP and Fallah have definitely got legs, and I think that, you know, if this COVID hasn't hit as it had at this moment in time, I think we might have seen a change of championship coming to TJP Fallah, probably based on the fact that I think originally the plan was for Rich Swann and Willie Mack to win it. Obviously, with Rich getting his injury, you know, I can see now TJP and Fallah sort of kind of ended up taking the title off the North. You know, in certainly, I think it probably would have happened at Rebellion, possibly, but I don't know. I don't know what the deal's going to be now. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, as of now, obviously the North are still tag team champions. This is going out in a couple of weeks' time, so it'd be interesting to see whether anything has changed.
It'll be the second week of Rebellion by the time this is out.
Yes, so it'll be interesting to see whether we do end up seeing because I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember whether they've announced, because they've announced some matches. Have they announced a tag match?
Not yet, no. But TJP and Fallah Bahh are now officially the number one contenders. They got the win on Tuesday, so they're officially number one contenders. I think we're going to get a match with them at Rebellion, and
on the second week,
possibly a title change.
I think that's what's going to happen. I honestly think that TJP and Fallah Bahh are going to end up with gold. Now, I think it'll happen at Rebellion. It'll be interesting to see whether we're right, won't it, mate?
Oh, I hope so. Not to disrespect the North, but a lot of predictions we've made so far haven't exactly gone to fruition. So, I think one or two predictions to go right would be nice.
It would be nice. I wonder whether Impact are watching our show and just literally saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that now. The boys are predicting.
Only got to look at Rosemary and Ty Valkyrie.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't pan out too well. But interestingly enough, I didn't pan out. Our prediction was completely wrong. But yeah, so I think I can see gold in the boys future. I think gold will look amazing against the yellow of TJP and Fallah Bahh. And I think there'll be a very popular team. And then, of course, that will then lead to a pretty cool feud, I think, between the North and TJP and Fallah. What do you think?
Oh yes, it's not going to be the end of the road once the North lose. They're going to really. I think they've got a good 2 or 3 month rivalry right up to Slammiversary of Bound for Glory, going with them. So it'd be perfect way to build up the North a bit more as well. The North are right on top of the food chain at the moment, but to give them a really serious rivalry.
Can you imagine them being like, Ethan and especially Ethan, he'd be so pissed.
Yeah.
Like, his promos will be amazing. So I just think that I'm salivating already just thinking about some of the promos that could come out of this if the North actually lose the titles to these guys, and then sort of kind of like seeing this rivalry build. Like you said, I think this is exactly where that's going to go, and I really hope it does, because I think if it does, we're in for a treat. Certainly over the next several months. However, we'll have to just wait and see how that pans out, of course, with the pandemic going on at the moment. So hopefully, once everything gets back to normal, it will be interesting to see how it all develops. But yeah, what a fantastic show we've had this week, Joe. Talking about the incredible Fallah Bahh. Bah. Bah.
Bah.
We do love Fallah. Definitely, again, one of our favourite characters on the Impact roster. We've been looking forward to talking about Fallah, haven't we, for quite some time. We've actually talked about it for ages. I think this is exactly the perfect time to be talking about a couple of weeks ago we would have talked about the North, and today we're talking about Fallah and TJP, and we're talking about Fallah, but obviously that includes with regards to TJP towards where we're sat now with them, going into the Rebellion specials that's going to be airing over 2 weeks on Impact TV. I think it's going to be a very interesting few weeks to see whether we sort of like maybe some of the things that we've talked about will actually come to fruition. Great fans of Fallah. And we hope to see you with gold around your waist in the coming weeks and months, young man. We think you're fully deserved, don't we?
Definitely, fully deserved.
Okay, fully deserved. So let's just break this down then. So just want to give a quick thank you to ESO Personalised for supporting this podcast, and of course the gifts that they sent us a few weeks back. So thank you very much for that. If you want to visit their website, please check them out on www.esopersonalised.co.uk. Where your brand is their business. They'll be looking forward to hearing from you. If you're looking to promote your brand, if you're a wrestler or a podcaster, maybe if you're interested in spreading the word, then these guys would definitely love to hear from you. And don't forget, we are also available wherever you listen to podcasts: iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, etc. If you want to see our content, then obviously you can continue checking us out on YouTube each and every Wednesday with fresh new content on the TNI network. So make sure that you head over to the TNI page on Twitter, which is at We Talk Impact. God, blimey, I nearly forgot. That's terrible. At We Talk Impact. Make sure that you follow those guys. They're always putting out some fantastic content. We do the weekly. They do the weekly review show on a Tuesday, which literally airs live half an hour after Impact in the States. So I advise you to check that out. Obviously, if you're in the UK, because it'd be full of spoilers. But obviously, if you're in the UK, make sure that you check those guys out as soon as you've watched your Impact episode. Absolutely fantastic job. We've also got the TNI Throwback Show, and of course TNI Impact every Wednesday. TNI Impacted every Wednesday. with myself, Bison, and of course my co-host over there in the void, empty space of his mind, the Joker. So yeah, make sure that you find us wherever you can. Head over to the YouTube, the Total Nonstop Impact YouTube channel.
Smash the bell, guys.
Yeah, hit subscribe, smash the bell, smash it, smash the bell, and make
Think
sure
like you're grabbing my head and just smashing it.
That's it. Just smash it. Smash that to never ever miss a listen. Now, I've been your host, Bison, and this has been
The Joker.
and we have been impacted.